Hey, Joe here. Back out in the garage to button up this Haltech Nexus R5 install. There's a few things that need to be taken care of before I can get this car over to the dyno and get it tuned. So let's get to work. This part of this video is actually being filmed after I filmed the rest of the content for this video. There's some things that crossed my mind that I wanted to talk about and didn't get around to. I tried to do a good job at this. I don't generally do a good job at this. There's some people that have helped me with this car. There's some friends of mine that have helped me with this car. I try to mention them. But there's some shops too that have helped me with this car. Force Performance, Tile Sport, Performance Part Out. Other companies that have given me great deals and done great work for me are Fat House Fabrications. Carbonetics has done a great job for me. Kigley Racing is amazing. They've always been amazing. But like, I've been doing this Haltech install and doing some wiring and things, and I've had help from Aaron and some other people on the wiring, and I'm not really showing a lot of the wiring, and the reason for that is that I don't have the skills to make an instructional video for you on how to make wiring harnesses. I've recently watched Aaron Anderson's YouTube channel, CSM TV, I believe it's called, and he has some pretty good wiring skills, and he shows you how to do that on some of his latest videos. I recommend you check those out if you're looking for wiring. Maybe you just want to have somebody make you a pre-made harness. My previous Link ECU that I had, the harness for that car was made by a buddy of mine, actually a couple of friends of mine, Jake and Stephanie Lemkel. They made that harness from the most top-notch materials, mil-spec style harness with the best type of wiring, the best type of sheathing, the best type of connectors, a beautiful bulkhead in the firewall, and they totally killed it on that harness. The quality on that harness was unbelievable. So if you want to go on Facebook and check out Pink Sock Racing, I wouldn't Google that, but I think in Facebook you'll probably find who you're looking for. Jake and Stephanie do some great work. So anyway, I don't know, you're going to watch some more tidying up of stuff in this video or whatever I filmed over the past couple of weekends and see where we're at on this install, but I wanted to get that out of the way while I had a chance. Thanks, guys. A few things that need to get taken care of under the hood here include, first of all, right back here, this is the wiring for my nitrous kit, my future secondary nitrous kit, and my purge solenoid. So that needs connectors, and I need to mount my new nitrous parts on here. Another thing that needs to be done is my future stage 2 injector connector needs to be installed here. I just didn't have an 8-position connector for this. There is also an 8-position connector on stage 1, which is right there and runs up over to the injectors. This one just needs a matching connector, which will just hang out until someday when I add an extra set of injectors. If you take a peek down here in front of the transmission, you'll see the transmission temp connector is there. It's just a few inches too short, so it's going to need to be extended. And then this harness that runs down along the front subframe there, it eventually comes over to the crank angle sensor way down there, that gray connector you see down there. The other part of that harness is dangling underneath, and it needs to be terminated for the oil temperature, engine oil temperature, which is down underneath there. And then also a connector with an extension for the boost control solenoid. And that'll pretty much wrap up what's going on under the hood. I got this buttoned up down here. I got my boost control solenoid routed up there with my crank angle sensor. Over here I've routed my engine oil temp. I got my transmission temp right here. I took these spare pressure inputs. Those are going to be for probably front and rear clutch later up here. So they're just tied up there for now. And I think we're buttoned up down here. Right now I'm working on the wiring for the rotary trim modules. I loomed them up all the way back to where they come out of the harness. I got this big chunk of heat shrink on here that's going to seal this end. And then these little heat shrink on each of these trim modules. Each one has a 5-volt, a ground, and a signal. So I'm going to put these connectors on there. These 3-pin connectors that come with the Haltech rotary trim modules. And then they'll just plug in from there. And there's the finished product. Just some basic loom on there. Some heat shrink. And the 3 branches coming out of there with the plugs on it. Ready to go. Next, I'm going to put this reverse switch, brake switch, and nitrous override switch on a connector. This is actually, I shouldn't call these the switches. These are the inputs for those switches. And then I have the wiring over here for the switches that I'll put on the other end of the plug so that you can disconnect the car from the harness. Just a few more things to finish up and test in here before I mount the dash and the keypad. I have some of these rotary trim modules I can plug in right here. Make sure that those work correctly in the software. I need to test my brake switch because I'm not sure it was working right. I need to stick a connector on some wiring here that's going to be for my steering wheel buttons. My nitrous override will be on one. And there'll be a plug down here that I can plug that cord into, and when I remove my wheel, I can just remove the whole thing. So I'm going to get to work on that stuff. Okay, I'll show you a couple things I'm testing here. I did test my rotary trim modules here. They're all plugged in. They're going to be mounted. I'm going to try to mount them up here in the dash. But I tested them, I turned them, the voltage changes, they're definitely working. So the other thing I got plugged in here is my reverse switch, my brake switch, and my nitrous override switch. My nitrous override switch is right here. I can't really test that right now. I could just put a wire between there, but I'll do that in a little bit. Right now I'm going to show you about my reverse switch. So I'm going to put this in reverse. You can see right here, off, right? So if I go over here, reverse, we have on. And when I come out, we go back to off. So that's good. The other thing I've worked with here is the brake switch, which I have configured as a trans brake. And if you see right there, trans brake input is off. I step on the brake, on, off the brake, off. On the brake, on, off the brake, off. So that's working good too. Next, I'm going to check my front wheel speed, which comes off of my transmission output shaft speed sensor, the factory one. It's right here. So I'm going to start the car up, and I'm going to put it in gear and see if I get any kind of signal on here. 0 hertz right now, so let me try that. Another thing I'm changing during this transition is I'll be going away from this wet nitrous kit. I had a proton kit in there, and I'll be going to a dry kit. I'm going to let the Haltech handle the fueling part of that. I'm going to do this single nozzle in the intake pipe right where my wet kit was. I'm reusing my NX purge solenoid, but I got a new solenoid here for the nitrous from Dyno Tune Nitrous. They're local to me, and those guys over there are really cool. So I bought that in my dry nozzle from them. And there's actually, if you look down there, there's an additional connector. That's for a future second kit that will be a direct port kit on the intake manifold. Probably not on that intake manifold. I can't get this smile off my face, guys. This thing sounds so sick now. Between the sequential ignition and the new cams. I mean, here, I'll let you take a listen.